Let's bring into our conversation three very strong voices on this matter. Dr. Clement Apaak is the ranking member on Parliament's Committee on Education. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch think tank. And Michael Ayuraboya is General Secretary of the National Association of Graduate Teachers. All of them join us by phone. Gentlemen, good morning to you all.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time. Now, if it's all right, I'd like to start with you, Mr. Ayuraboya. Now, this thing was controversial from the beginning, but surely, as a professional teacher, you appreciate the concept of a process that will ensure the certification of the best people to teach our children, wouldn't you?
Yes, I do, Kojo. And then let me say good morning to you and your good listeners of Joy FM, and to my honorable MP, Dr. Apaak, and then my comrade Kojo Asare, Mr. Asare. Yes, I agree with you. It was an issue, but that has been a long time ago. We started this process long ago, from 2012 up to about 2017, 2018, thereabouts. The turning issues that have been there have been ironed out, and we set the progress on. So, yes, things have been fine. We are ready to roll out, and what we have been doing so far is a progress for us. We think that is good.
The question has arisen of whether, if a teacher fails the exam, they should be removed from the classroom. Where do you stand on that?
No. But the point here is teachers who are already in the classroom do not have to write that exam. So that instance of having to fail and be removed does not apply. So they should not be allowed into a classroom if they fail the licensure exam. Sorry?
So they should not be allowed into a classroom if they fail the licensure exam.
Well, that's what the law says. That is what the law says. Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020 Act 1023, as part of the mandate of the council, the functions of the council are supposed to license the teachers to teach, to go into the classroom. So if you are not licensed, you cannot even be in the classroom. So we do not expect to have a non-licensed teacher in a classroom in the first place.
Should we be concerned about the existing ones who were exempted? I mean, we will never know whether they would have passed this test or not. So in essence, we will never know whether they meet the standard we want to set or not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. But, laws in Ghana are not retrospective. So you cannot add that. We should go back and check if all of us have been several decades in the classroom. You want to come and now find out whether I'm fit to be in the classroom. I mean, that wouldn't be fair. But then, Kojo, the important thing is that the teachers who are already in the field have been doing their part. This is a new dispensation. We want to move forward. All that we can do is we try to see how we can bring those who have been in the system to catch up with the past.
Right.
So, as we speak, the CPD that we do, continuous professional development that we do, emphasis is on those of us who are already in the system. And then we now want to use this system to check who then else comes into the system.
Dr. Apaak, this thing has been going on for some time now, the licensure exams. Everyone seems to have embraced it as the new way forward. But surely there are pros and cons, are there not?
Is this Raymond?
Yes, Kojo.
Yeah, Kojo, how are you?
Very well, indeed, Dr. Apaak.
It's been a while.
It has. You need to visit us soon.
I greet my protege Raymond too.
Yes, he's here.
I miss him. But he should take it easy.
Okay, sir.
It looks like he's bulking up a lot than I expect.
Oh, I hear you, dog.
Very well. On the issue of the licensing of teachers, which is where I would like to begin from, I choose to use the word licensing because, as you both know, we have made our position on the processes towards licensing teachers as professionals clear. We don't believe that a 4 to 6 hour pen and paper exam should be the method by which we should certify teachers as having gained a professional status. So you would have noticed that our flag bearer has already announced, as he did prior to the 2020 election, that if the NDC is given the mandate to govern this country once more, the Teacher Licensure exam would be cancelled. It won't exist. What we would do is to replace it with a process that will require the teacher trainees to pass all their final year exams, which is what we believe would give them the basis to become professional. As part of the training, their courses will be reconfigured to include courses that will tailor them towards what today will be captured in a licensure exam. Now, when they are done with their final papers, we would give them provisional licenses, and they will be deployed without doing the current compulsory 1 year national service.
Right.
Whilst in the field teaching, because that is where they are most needed, when their results come and they have passed, they will continue teaching, and then they will be assessed and evaluated based on pedagogy and other teaching methods and practices. And then based on the outcome of that evaluation, they will then be confirmed and given permanent licenses. This is the model that we think is better suited for the issue of ensuring teacher quality and maintaining the teachers that we need so badly in our classrooms.
Well, Dr. Apaak, thinking through the model you've described, what you're saying is that you don't think, a 2-hour written exam is the best way to license a teacher.
It's a 4 to 6 hour exam.
4 to 6 hour, yes, written exam. You don't think that's the best way to license a teacher. But now, instead, you are simply going to require that they pass their final exams, which are all written exams anyway.
Yes, that's correct.
So you are just, replacing one written exam with a bunch of others, are you not?
No, but we are actually reducing, if you like, for lack of a better word, the quantum of written exams. But our argument is that if our training institutions, in this case, the 46 public colleges of education, I know there's a number of private colleges of education, and the universities, which also have a mandate to train teachers, are properly resourced and given the needed tools to train our teachers, which we know they are doing their best to do in the face of challenges. For a whole 4 years, We believe that a robust curriculum in the training institutions should be enough to produce teachers worth their salt, who ought not to be subjected to yet another exam for 4 to 6 hours, on the basis of which they should be pronounced as being professional. We don't agree with that.
Right. Okay.
That is our position on it.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Kofi Asare, I saved you for last because I thought you'd be a good person among the three to give us your assessment of the two options. So talk us through what Africa Education Watch considers of these two ways of licensing teachers. Do we still have Kofi Asare? No, it looks like we've lost Kofi Asare. Well, that's a pity. Ray.
No, it's an interesting development, right? So on one hand, the argument is, and let's not miss it, on one hand, the argument is that we need an external form of examination that sets standards and actually determine that the people we have gotten from the various schools are up to the standards required. It suggests, like that same suspicion we had of students coming out of our senior high schools and other pre-tertiary institutions going into university. Remember, where we said, for example, in Legon, you have to do an entrance examination. And that this entrance examination is what determined whether or not you are qualified to be in any of these institutions. The argument has been made that we do not dispute the various law faculties in this country, and yet we have a Ghana School of Law, which rarely, end of the day, administers exams on a generalized basis that determines whether or not you qualify to be at that level or not. Now, of course, it also does some training. The other argument is say, no, there's no need to determine quality of a teacher or the ability to deliver by merely asking them to write exams. Let them be on the field. After passing their exams in the school, you assess them not only by the exams they wrote in their school, but also what they have done on the field within the 1 year. Then you can get to know whether or not you can make their temporal licenses permanent. The temporal licenses you give them to go and actually be on the field permanent. These options spring up very key questions. Would any of them solve the problem of quality education at the top? Would any of them be the panacea to the quality of the teacher that we want? A 21st century teacher, a teacher who's in tune with modern times, like has imbued in his thinking the kind of educated students that we want for the generation to compete elsewhere. I do think that the mere fact that you have a licensing regime in place may not necessarily guarantee that all your teachers will be of the quality that you want. Indeed, the licensing regime may just reflect a defective education system already in place. And at the top, that's why I think we should be correcting rather. What is the standard that we want teachers elsewhere if another teacher is actually coming from, let's say, the US or anywhere to come and teach? There's something that we used to do. I mean, even at the tertiary level, sometimes you were looking to a YouTube video of an Indian teaching you a course, be it physics or chemistry, and for the life of me, the best of the explanations you had was from that teacher. That gentleman never taught you in a classroom. He was not your direct teacher, but the competence with which they teach and make it understandable, a certain course, was so great that you wish you had that person teaching you. I do believe if we are overhauling our education system, it will come with the standards we have at the various teacher training colleges, which will then guarantee the standards that we want. Now, if we want to test that standard, that standard can be tested at different levels to see that we meet the trends that we want. I am not saying that does not mean that you should not have an external examination system, but if you fix it at the various levels, I feel the external examination system may just be another layer, be it preposterous or an addition that may help out. You may have to make that determination. Fundamentally, what we are saying is that there is a problem with the quality we are having from the schools. Fixing that is not fixing it with another layer. I don't know if you get my point.
I do.
Even though there is also the dynamics about, you cannot immediately fix that problem. So you need an interim measure to try and see that we take out the people who are not supposed to be imparting the younger people in this country.
You know, I think about it this way. this whole discussion about licensure, licensing the teacher after you've trained them, to me, the analogy that comes to mind is you gather a group of people, put them in a room, and start feeding them rotten food that could possibly be contaminated. You feed them the rotten food for a period of time, and then afterwards, you do blood tests to see which of them have got bacteria in their system. If they don't, then you let them out. If they do, then you keep them in. Meanwhile, you need them all out.
Yeah.
So why were you feeding them rotten food to begin with? For me, the problem is the actual training of the teachers. By the point where you are trying to license them, you've already trained them. You've already given them the training, whether it was good or bad, you've already given it to them.
Yeah.
And your licensure process is just to check how many of them survived your training, your training
process,
exercise. How many of them came out of it with skills that they can actually use to teach effectively. But if you haven't fixed the actual training process, and you are just testing at the end to see which of them turned out okay, it seems to me, closing the barn doors after the horse has bolted. We need to be focusing on what we teach teachers.
And again, saying that I failed the exam this year, so I should come and write the next year or write the next available time, it's not fixing the fundamental defect I've had in education.
How did you train them? How did you train them?
The argument will be that it's not everybody that failed, so how come some failed and others passed? But even that, being able to rote learn and go and write an exam may not be the best determination.
That you can teach in a classroom.
Yes, so it's a bit complex how we are deploying this.
I'll tell you an experience in a bit, but we are joined by Akua Odame. Akua is an educationist. She joins us on the phone. Akua, thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. So, Akua, you've watched the documentary, you've been following the debates. Tell us your thoughts on this licensure process.
So the first question I would like to ask you is, these two people I will present to you, a certified surgeon, a qualified lawyer, and then that of the unqualified or certified one. Which of these people would you want them to tackle your issues? Would you be very comfortable with? That is first. You could answer it or we could leave it like that. So my point is that for the teachers that have gone through all the training that they needed to go through, the first speaker indicated that they are churning out teachers from other organizations. I think it was the Director General of Education that mentioned it. So, however, for us to have something like a speaker to ensure that the teachers that will come to the classroom have gone through the process and they are doing well, you put in these measures in place so that if you do not pass, you don't enter the classroom to teach the students, if you have to go back or not. Gone were the days we never had national teachers guiding or aligning the practices of a professional teacher. Teaching is a profession for which it must be accorded the right, status that it requires. I have flaws with the licensure exams, the modalities, the independent nature of it, and other things. For me, I believe that what we should be working on is the content of the licensure exams, the modalities, the people that are involved, so that if these teachers go and write the exams and come out, we know that, yes, they are qualified to step foot into the classroom. Then moving forward, when they go for promotion and based on the national teacher standards, you can be assessing them on those ones. Doctors go for in-service practices. Lawyers go for training. If you want to specialize, you go for training. So while on the field as a teacher, you check on ongoing practices or training to better yourself, whether you would still be in the classroom or move to educational administration, management, or planning. So for me to rule it entirely that we want to cancel it, I think it is too harsh a statement or a step to be thinking about. Let's think about how to better the system for the good of our own children. Let it be a gatekeeper. It is not good. So moving forward, let's prove it, to work on it, and get something good. But to take it out entirely, doctors spend 7 years at the university training. Lawyers, how many years they spend? They spend more than 4 years. But still, they go and write exams for them to be qualified before they practice. Why should teaching profession be different? Since we call it a professional something, then I believe that we should take this stand and work at it.
Okay. Thank you for that, Akua. We're able to now speak to Kofi Asare, Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. Kofi, thanks so much for your patience. I'm glad we're able to reconnect. So, I just wanted to know your thoughts on the two options on the table.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your audience. At EduWatch, our position has been clear on the licensure. One, we believe that there isn't any sufficient ground for anyone to think of cancelling the licensure, simply because it has some issues. Every policy has issues. It is the duty of the duty bearer to ensure that the issues feed into the reinforcement of the policy to achieve the policy objective. So we don't see any structural deficits or relevance deficits in the licensure. That's what warrants a discussion on this cancellation. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the licensure is helping to professionalize the teaching profession. Okay, the benefit is that it gives teachers an identity, a professional identity as such, and then also gives a regulator an opportunity to assess those who enter the profession. It is standard practice in every profession and in every country, and it shouldn't be different for Ghana. I believe that the NDC, when they piloted the licensure, had good intentions for piloting it, and I believe that the MPP, when they were developing the Education Act of 2008, after 2008, also had good intention for having in place a National Teaching Council whose functions would include, among others, licensing and regulating teachers. So what we should do is that if the licensure has issues, we should seek to improve it. I'm indifferent about the level at which the licensure should be done or the form. If the NDC believes that the licensure in its current form that is not serving a good purpose because they have to complete school, come and stay home, and then write it later. If that is their argument, I have no problem if the licensure is being done while in school after completing your degree. If you complete your last exam and you have to stay in school for 1 week and do your licensure, I don't have a problem with that. Provided that examination is being done by the National Teaching Council and not the faculty. And so the essence of an external assessment at the entry point into the profession is very, very critical. It is non-negotiable. And that is what I want all of us to embrace as a country. The 30% average failure rate for the licensure at first instance is not a reason to say the exam is not good. I have seen many scripts of student teachers who wrote the licensure and didn't pass. Many scripts. And I will never be happy if any of such teachers found their way into the classroom. In fact, I even wish that no one should be allowed to rewrite the licensure more than twice. If you write the first one, you should be allowed only one written. Why I'm saying that is that if you look at some of the people who are failing the licensure, the kind of English they are writing cannot be perfected at the tertiary level. You don't learn how to write English or speak English at the tertiary level. And so for some of them, it should be one time, once you demonstrate incapacity or no proficiency in the English language, that's it. Because you can't go and learn English after level 400. You understand? And then for those that have genuine difficulties, in appreciating pedagogic skills, subject content skills, etc., that's fine. Give another chance. But those who are poor in literacy, it is a non-negotiable. You shouldn't allow them to write it for the second time. So that we uphold the standards or seek to improve upon the standards of the teacher and teaching in our schools, both public and private. And so everybody should embrace it because our children are those that will stand to benefit.
So, Kofi, is there any evidence, any data that points to the fact that those who have done the licensure exams are doing better in the classroom than those who haven't?
No, there's no data On our side, we haven't done any research to compare the output, the delivery of the licensed teacher to, let's say, the unlicensed teacher who teaches in a private school. Yes, we have no data to that effect. But it is expected that once you are licensed, you see, the licensing shouldn't necessarily make you a better teacher. That is not the case. You have been trained already in the college to be a better teacher. The training was administered by the faculties and the College of Education for 4 years to make you a better teacher, both in the classroom and then also through supported teaching. So the training, the licensor is not the one that will train you. That's the point I wanted to emphasize. The licensor examination ensures that you pass a certain mark. And for me, most importantly, it's a second layer to filter those who may have passed through the tertiary system who ought not to have passed through. Because, Kojo, if you agree with me that someone who has passed through the University of Cape Coast, University of Education, the University of Ghana, and have gotten their BEd basic education degree should not struggle to write a letter, should not struggle to write an address to a letter to their MP. An address of a letter to their MP. They shouldn't struggle to do that. So if you have your BEd degree and still struggle to write a common letter to your MP, then it means that your BEd degree in itself is questionable. You understand? And so we should see the licensor as that thief that will provide the last layer of quality assurance post-tertiary after your BEd degree. And it is very important. If you want to say that the licensor is not going to make anybody a good teacher, that is not the teaching intervention. The teaching intervention takes place in the tertiary institution. But the licensor will ensure that those who ought not to have passed through the BEd program but managed to pass through without attaining the relevant competencies are not allowed to enter the classroom. And that is very, very, very important for us.
Well, Dr. Apaak, I wonder what your response would be to Kofi's submission. Right, it seems we've lost Dr. Apaak, at which point I think I have to just say a big thank you to all of our speakers. Dr. Clement Apaak, of course, is the second deputy ranking member on the Parliament Committee for Education. Kofi Asare, Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. Michael Ayuraboya is the General Secretary of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, and Akua Odame was an educationist who joined us on the phone. Thank you.